Okay, I'm going to let the participants in and you can mute yourself, okay? So you can just take
sure.
notes of their questions and then take a few clips as well.
Yeah, of course. Good luck.
Hello and welcome to the webinar this evening about relocating to Dubai. So thank you for joining. Please take your time. We're still waiting for most of our participants to join us. We'll be ready to start in just a minute or so. Ok, bonjour. Je pense que pour l'instant, nos participants sont français, francophones. Donc, bienvenue au webinaire. C'est un plaisir de vous accueillir. Je m'appelle Servan, je suis basée ici à Dubaï et je me propose de vous accompagner dans votre décision de venir pratiquer ici à Dubaï. Bonsoir. N'hésitez pas dans un petit instant à mettre votre vidéo si vous le souhaitez vous présenter. I'm going to let the other participants in. It's going to be a webinar in English, so I hope this is fine for all our participants, including the French ones this evening. So welcome to the session. We've got a small group so far, so please feel free to introduce yourself if you'd like to do that before I get started. This session is going to last approximately 60 minutes to 75 minutes, depending on your questions. I have prepared some information to show you and to discuss, but of course, we want to make it very interactive and give you the opportunity as well to ask your questions if you have any questions. So would anybody like to introduce themselves this evening? Feel free to turn your camera on and to also introduce yourself. Shall I start? Okay, so I believe we have two French doctors with us this evening, maybe one from, I believe, Belgium or France, and then we have also a doctor based out here in Dubai who is Iranian. So welcome to the session. I'm just going to let all the participants in so that everybody is here before we get started. So if you're just joining the webinar, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope this is the first step in your exciting journey to move here to Dubai. And I'm sure that you have a lot of questions. So I'm here to answer all your questions this evening. If you have any questions and you prefer not to unmute yourself, you can use the chat here and you can drop any questions like this, for example, and I will be able to see your questions. Otherwise, feel free to unmute yourself as well, and you will be able to have a direct discussions with us. So good evening once again. Before we start, if anybody would like to introduce themselves and tell me a little bit more, what's your medical specialty and where in the world are you? And what is your project? Would you like to contribute and introduce yourself? Not yet. Okay, so I will start with the webinar and hopefully you have lots of questions as I go along. So this evening we are going to talk about the possibility to relocate to Dubai and the United Arab Emirates as a medical doctor. So this session is conducted by Invicta Med, which is my agency. You'll be able to find more information about us online. Myself, I'm Servan Colette. I'm French and I've been living here in Dubai since 2014, sorry. So it's been 11 years. I've also worked in the UK and I've worked with Medical American Associations for the last 15 years. So I created Invicta Med in 2022 to help doctors and clinics establish their business and their practice in the UAE. So I'm passionate about healthcare. I've been working with doctors and clinics for the last 15 years, and I'm particularly experienced in the field of aesthetic medicine, but also the rising field of longevity, functional medicine, and wellness. However, if you're a dentist, a gynecologist, or any other specialty, I will be able to assist you as well. So thank you again for following me and for being interested to join our webinar this evening. So what do we do and how can we help you in your journey? So this is what I'm going to discuss with you this evening. So first of all, when you consider moving to Dubai, you need to think about the regulations and the administration, finding a job, opening a clinic. Maybe some of you are interested in this. And how will you market your expertise and how successful will you be in Dubai? So we are able to help you all along your journey, whether you're interested to just get our help in order to relocate, or whether you want to find a job through us, or whether you also want to open a clinic. So what we're going to discuss this evening is a few topics. We're going to talk about Dubai. We're going to talk how can you practice in Dubai? What are the documents that you need to gather? What are the exam requirements? What are the timelines and timeframes that this will take from the moment you decide to move here, maybe until the time that you are ready to find a job? How do you find a job? And should you open a clinic? How do you make that decision? What can you expect from the salaries? And what can you expect from taxes? Are we really a tax-free country, yes or no? Visas and requirements, lifestyle, and living costs. So I'm going to try and share as much information with you as possible this evening. If anybody would like to drop any questions at this stage, let me know if you have any specific questions for me this evening. Hi, Dr. Lehmann. So no problem. Thank you for joining. And I'll hope to answer all your questions as a plastic surgeon from France. Okay, so let's get started. And please do stop me if you have any questions. This webinar is for you. So let's talk about Dubai before we get started. So Dubai is a booming city. Everyone in the world right now is talking about Dubai. So what can we expect and what is the reality of living and working here as a doctor in Dubai? So I'm going to share some real statistics with you and real facts from somebody who actually lives and works here with doctors. So first of all, let's remember that Dubai is only one of the 7 emirates that we have here in the United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates means we have 7 emirates. Most of you will know very well Abu Dhabi, which actually, let's not forget, is the capital of the UAE, but also Dubai, which is, let's say, the busiest city and usually the most popular one. But we also have 5 other emirates, which are very less well known: Ajman, Al Quwain, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, and Sharjah. Why am I showing you this? Because each emirate is almost like a region, and each region will have its own regulations for doctors practicing. So, for example, if you decide to live in Dubai, you will need a license to practice as a doctor from the Dubai Health Authority. But if you decide to practice in Abu Dhabi, you will need to have a license to practice from the Abu Dhabi Department of Health. So they're actually different authorities. They have a lot of similarities. And it means that once you have a license with one emirate, you will be able faster and easily to transfer it with the other emirates if you decide to work, let's say, in Abu Dhabi instead of Dubai. But it's important to decide from the beginning where you prefer to work and live, because it will be a different regulatory system. Okay? So the UAE population, what can we expect from the UAE population? How big is it? Is it rising? And who actually lives here? Well, in the UAE currently, we are recording almost 12 million people. And as you can see, the population is growing very, very, very fast. There are some rumors, not confirmed yet, that perhaps in 2025, we don't have statistics yet, but 2025, maybe we are starting to see a stabilization of the population with slightly less people coming in. Still, every day we have people coming in, but it's starting to grow perhaps a little bit less fast than it grew in 2023 to 2024. If you have any questions, let me know. The Emirati population of local native people is only 11%. So we call Dubai an expat country, meaning that 88% of people and professionals who live here were not born in the Emirates, or at least do not have Emirati nationality. So we have a lot of international people, professionals, doctors. This is our day-to-day life here. We are usually working, living, socializing with people from all around the world. So many people from UK, from US, from France, from the Middle East, from Iran, and from all over the world are living here. So this is the majority of people in the Emirates, 88% expatriates. So as you can see as well, the age of the population in the UAE is actually very young compared possibly to other countries. So 68% of our population is between the age of 25 years old to 54 years old. So nowadays we have a lot of young people straight after studying that will move to Dubai. It also means that as a doctor, you are dealing with a younger population. The elderly population usually tends maybe to go back to their home countries, or tends, to stay less long in the UAE. Now let's look at the population by Emirates. So Abu Dhabi compared to Dubai is slightly more populated than Dubai. However, you will find that usually Dubai is a busier city, and Dubai usually has more traffic, but also has more opportunities. So Dubai is a city that is growing very, very, very fast, much faster for sure than Abu Dhabi. But Abu Dhabi remains very heavily populated as well. Do we have anybody in the group this evening interested to move and work in Abu Dhabi instead of Dubai? If you do, then feel free to drop a message in the chat, because that would be like a different discussion and different recommendations that I would have for you. Okay, so in the United Arab Emirates, which language do we speak? What kind of lifestyle do we have, and how is the expat community? So I often get the question, do I need to speak Arabic in order to work in Dubai as a doctor? The answer is no, you do not need to speak Arabic. All the Arab patients living here and population usually speak English. If they don't speak English, you might have other doctors or the receptionist or the front desk or other staff in the clinic and hospital for sure that will be there to help deal with those Arabic patients. But generally speaking, if you don't speak Arabic, this is not a problem. Speaking English, however, is very important, of course, because everyone here speaks English to each other. So we will talk about it, but if you would like to work here as a doctor, you will need to have a license by the Dubai Health Authority. And in order to have a license by the Dubai Health Authority, you will maybe need to take an exam. So the exam, of course, will be in English, and they will be assessing if you are comfortable with English and if you are able to discuss, of course, and understand your patients very well, which is important, of course, as a doctor. The lifestyle is very safe. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of doctors wish to move to Dubai, because it's much safer than other countries in the world right now that have safety concerns, maybe for their children, for themselves. It's very sunny all year round. Does it get hot in the summer? Yes, it does. But we can talk about these details later on if you're interested. But generally speaking, more and more people spend all year round in Dubai. Sometimes business people will choose to spend 8 or 9 months of the year in Dubai and maybe the summer back home. As I mentioned, we have a very large expat community. And where are most people coming from within the 88% of expats that we have? In fact, we have a very large Asian population. So we have also, let's not forget, a lot of Indian nationals. We have a lot of Filipino nationals. A lot of nurses are from the Philippines and from India, in fact. And then for the rest of the population, we have a lot of Europeans, increasingly more and more South American population as well, from Brazil, for example, or Colombia. And also we have, of course, Canada, American people, and Australian people. So every nationality is represented here in Dubai. If you have any questions, please stop me and feel free to interact. So hopefully that gives you a little overview of the landscape of the United Arab Emirates. But now I would like to talk to you about the healthcare industry more specifically, which is what I'm sure you are very interested in. So the healthcare industry in Dubai is booming. Lots of clinics, lots of hospitals, lots of doctors. Is this a good thing? Yes, it is. It means that in the UAE, we have a lot of, we are less restricted, let's say, with some of the concerns that we have overseas, for example, where we have long waiting lists and the healthcare system tends to be saturated, overwhelmed, doctors are overworked, they are fully booked for months and weeks. Dubai is very different. We have a lot of hospitals, we have a lot of clinics, and we have a lot of doctors, which means that we have access as patients, as the population, to a very premium and privileged healthcare system. The healthcare system is mostly private if you want to compare it to internationally. So we don't have so much what we call the public healthcare system, although we do have some government hospitals, but generally international doctors or international patients will not use these government hospitals as much. They tend to be used more by maybe the local population of Emiratis. So we tend to say that in the UAE, healthcare is a business. So I know this is a little controversial, but healthcare is becoming more and more of a business in the sense that staying healthy, having preventive health checks, and being proactive about your health is also a business for some facilities because we are dealing with a private healthcare system. However, the system is very efficient. We have very high quality doctors here and very high quality hospitals and clinics. But what does it mean for you when I say that healthcare is a business? It also means that the healthcare facilities, the hospitals, the clinics, they will be expecting the doctor to build very good patient base for themselves and for the facility. So there is also, of course, competition in the UAE because so many hospitals, clinics. So it's important when you start to work in Dubai or the UAE that you have this mindset as well, that you are able to build a loyal patient base who will be following you from day one for a very long time. So you need to be able to build your patient base, but also retain your patient base and your business, I am tempted to say. This is very important for the hospitals and the clinics. A lot of clinics, especially, are privately owned, maybe by doctors or maybe family businesses. And of course, they have very high costs. So when they are recruiting doctors, they are, of course, expecting as well to make return on investment. For the big hospital chains, the model is a little different because they are very established for many years. They will have already like big book of patients, many doctors working for them, and they will work on different model with you. We will talk a little bit more about this. So is it private or public? As we discussed, it's mostly private. The public healthcare system is minimal here compared to the private. And what is the insurance system? Well, everybody who works in the UAE, including you as a doctor, you will be entitled and you will be required to have healthcare insurance. Usually your employer or our employers is providing us with healthcare insurance. So for example, we will have access to healthcare insurance, which means that we can go to predetermined hospitals or clinics which are pre-approved by the insurance that we are dealing with. So each insurance, for example, AXA or NextCare, will have different lists of hospitals or clinics that they are working with. And then the patients can go to these facilities and they will not need to pay in advance. It will be directly billed to the insurance company. However, in particular specialties, especially plastic surgery, dermatology, aesthetic medicine, preventive medicine, dentists, same actually as abroad, none of these clinics or doctors tend to work with insurance. They tend to work with what we call self-pay or pay and claim. So the patient will go to the clinic, will pay for it, and perhaps if it's clinical dermatology, they will be able to claim it to their insurance afterwards and get the reimbursement. So usually most doctors, at least that I work with, prefer to work without insurance system here in Dubai, because the insurance system, unless you work with a very big hospital in private clinics, is less common. So always the discussion, big hospital versus private clinic, is very important in your journey. So let's look at how many clinics and hospitals we have here in Dubai, just to give you an idea. So we have 1,692 clinics in Dubai. This is Dubai, this is not Abu Dhabi or any other emirate. So clinics means that it could be dermatology clinic, or it could be dental clinic, or it could be eye clinic, it could be any specialty. Okay. And half of these clinics are actually aesthetic clinics. Why am I talking about aesthetics? Because I think a lot of the doctors tonight who registered are into plastic surgery or aesthetic medicine or cosmetic medicine. So a lot of aesthetic clinics here and a lot of patients asking for aesthetic procedures. In terms of the number of hospitals, we have 55 hospitals here. The hospitals are very big, very well established, and they are really hospitals, probably the same way that you think of hospitals back home. So what are the top specialties that we see are in demand in the UAE? Are some specialties more in demand than others? This is often a question that I get. There's few specialties that are always very, very popular. One of them, for example, will be obstetrics and gynecology. Another one will be gastroenterology. Of course, dermatology and plastic surgery. So these are some of the specialties that are always high in demand, and the hospitals or the clinics are always looking for such specialists. And of course, there are many other specialists that we are always on the lookout for. This will really depend on the type of doctors coming in the country and the doctors coming out of the country, but also the trends in healthcare, of course. So now let's talk about the regulatory and paperwork. Let's say that you decide that you want to come and work in Dubai, maybe in the next 6 months or 12 months. The first thing that you need to think about is how can you get your equivalences and how can you get a license to practice in Dubai? Because of course, all doctors here must apply for an official license with the Dubai Health Authority. So regardless where you are in the world, regardless what is your nationality, regardless where you studied, regardless what is your specialty, you need to have a recognition of your degrees in Dubai or in the other Emirates officially, and you need to obtain one of those little cards, which now, of course, is digital on the website, to say that you are recognized and licensed by our official body. The official body in Dubai is called the Dubai Health Authority. You will often hear about it as DHA. If you have some time, you can go to the website of DHA on Google and you will see so much information to read. Getting this license will require some time, and I will explain to you the documents that you need as well. This is just a very simple summary. If you are interested to know more about this, I can explain to you all the documents that I needed, but here's just a simple list of what you will need to show in order to have your license here in Dubai. Of course, you need to show us your medical degree, your specialty degree if you have any specialty, your internship evidence. You need to also have a transcript of records from your university. A lot of doctors say, I don't know where this is, I never had to show it, but this is important. You can contact your university and you can ask for the transcript of records. You need to have an active registration as a doctor from the official body in your country. This is very important. Perhaps sometimes doctors are contacting us and they've not been practicing after graduating. Perhaps they became, they work with pharma companies or whatever else happened. Perhaps they were just running and managing the clinic. But it's important that you have an active registration as a doctor from any country in the world. Most countries in the world will be recognized and approved, but you need to be actively registered. You need to be able to show us that you have experience and employment letters, at least usually from the last 2 years. And very important, you need to show the authority in Dubai that you have a certificate of good standing from your licensing body, and this needs to be less than 3 months old. What does that mean? Unfortunately, it could be that some doctors perhaps had some challenges with their licensing body back home, perhaps because of some patient complaints or some sanctions that were put temporarily on their license because of different reasons. If you have been subject to any sanctions or any complaints that's been registered or logged by the patients to the licensing body or by colleagues or third party, that may appear on your good standing certificate and that may affect your ability to come and work in Dubai. However, we have had some doctors that had some small issues and concerns with their licensing body, perhaps because of some advertising activities, and we were still able to get their license here in Dubai. So it will depend what is the nature of the sanction, of course, but it's an important document to get. If you are a French doctor, as I know we have some French doctors here tonight, I often get the question, okay, but this takes very long time, and in France, they don't want to give this document. It does take a long time, sometimes 4 weeks or 6 weeks to get the document, but they will give it to you. Don't worry, and we will help you to get it as well. Do you need experience before coming to work in Dubai? I'm answering this question. I know Dr. Lehman is still currently building up the experience. So some specialties, it will depend. If you're a general medicine doctor or general practitioner, it's important that you have some experience, usually of at least 2 years. But if you are a specialist, especially like plastic surgery, you may not need the experience. But everything is subject to which certificates you are holding as a specialist, and is this recognized by the Dubai Health Authority? So everything is subject to conditions, and we can take a more detailed look for you. If you're a doctor from a non-English speaking country and all your degrees and documents are not in English, you need to translate them in English, and we can help you with this as well. How long does it take? I often get this question. So usually, first of all, your decision is sometimes what takes the most time because it's a big decision. So we're here to help you make this decision. But let's say by the time you make the decision to get started with the license, you can decide to start with the license, but make the decision to move later on. This often happens. Or sometimes it's the other way around. You decide to move and then you do the license. By the time you make the decision and gather all the documents that I mentioned here in the previous list, usually the doctor needs approximately 1 month. It will take time. You are all busy. You need to find the documents, ask for them. Once we have the documents, or once you apply by yourself with the Dubai Health Authority on their website, it usually takes 15 days in order to get a preliminary approval. Not all the agencies will recommend you to get this preliminary approval, but here we like to get this preliminary approval because it will save you time, it will save you money, and usually it's very accurate, and it's an official preliminary approval by the Dubai Health Authority. Then, once you have preliminary approval, the Dubai Health Authority will actually contact all of your employers or university or council where you are registered. So any organization that has given you these documents here will be contacted by the Dubai Health Authority, and they will be requested to confirm that this is an authentic and accurate document. So this usually process will take at least 8 to 12 weeks, which is 2 to 3 months. Okay. Then you will have to take an exam, perhaps. Not all doctors have to take an exam, thankfully, but some doctors have to take the exam, and we can guide you in this. And there are some study materials to help you prepare. Once you've completed all those steps, the health authority will give you a confirmation of your eligibility. We call it the eligibility letter. And this is valid initially for 1 year only, 12 months, but you can renew it. So you can renew it 2 times. If you don't find a job or you don't move to Dubai, it will not be expired. You can still keep this validity for yourself. Okay. Any questions, anybody? Hopefully you're following me and I'm answering some of your questions. If you'd like to interrupt me, I'm here for you. So let's talk about the exam. Most doctors don't like this topic and prefer not to sit an exam again, of course. So we always try our best to secure exemption from the exam. But of course, it will depend on where you studied, which certificates you got. So it will depend on a few factors. So there are two types of exams if you are subject to one. And again, it will depend on your specialty and where you graduated. But usually there is either what we call prometric exam, which is a computer-based exam with multiple choice questions, which you can take from your country. You don't need to come to Dubai for that. You can do it from home. We will give you a date, a time, and you will log into the computer and you will have controlled system, sorry, not from home, but from an accredited exam center near your home in your country. And then you will be asked to answer multiple choice questions for a duration of 2 hours or 3 hours. And then usually the minimum pass rate will be 60 to 70%. For some specialists like plastic surgery, osteopathy, chiropractors, you will be required to take an oral exam, usually, which you can do online. It will maybe be 10 to 30 minutes. So the examination process, I call it the lucky countries, because there are some countries which are exempt from the exam, and other countries, unfortunately, are not exempt from the exam. So the Dubai Health Authority came up with a system and said, doctors who graduated from these countries probably don't need to take the exam, but doctors who graduated from any other country will need to take an exam. So here is just a very simple summary, but please, everything is subject to our review or the Dubai Health Authority review. But you have an overview here of what I call the lucky countries. So UK, USA, Canada, Ireland, Australia. So actually, usually all the Commonwealth or English-speaking countries don't need to take an exam because their medical degrees are recognized as being equivalent. Other lucky countries, these I put it in other because it will depend on the particular certificate that you obtained from your university. So we have to review it. But we have Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland. These are also some countries that usually will be exempt from the exam. Any question about this important topic? No? Let's continue. Let's say you get your license. The next question you will have, or the first question you have before deciding to take your license will be, how can I find a job? And is it easy to find a job? Very important question. Lots of clinics, lots of hospitals, great. Rising population, great, but also lots of doctors, right? So how easy is it for you as a newcomer in the market to find a job? So of course, it will really depend on your experience, your specialty, your subspecialty, whether you want to work in a hospital or whether you want to work in a clinic, whether you have high financial salary expectations from day one, or whether you are coming here to build your career and planning to grow slowly but surely. So every doctor that we speak to and family that we help relocate, they have different expectations. So it's a very, very tricky question. But finding a job as a doctor is very feasible, especially if you have good experience in your field. I would say if you don't have much experience, it might be a little bit difficult, especially if you are a general medicine doctor. But if you don't have much experience, but you're highly specialized like plastic surgery or obstetrics, you still have a chance to get a job, I believe, with hospitals that are looking to onboard junior doctors, or especially with clinics that might be looking for somebody with your language, with your nationality. So finding a job in Dubai as a doctor is very different from finding a job as a doctor in France, for example, or in Iran or in many other countries, I'm sure. So first of all, in Dubai, first point is knowing someone or knowing people that can help you to connect to the people, or visiting the clinics in person or having some contacts inside the clinics is very important. There is a anesthetist, for example, that we worked with before, and he's from Germany, and he told me I emailed my CV to at least 100 hospitals and clinics, but nobody replied to me one time. It is true that in Dubai, emailing your CV is not going to be very successful, probably, because emails are not so utilized as a method of recruitment. A lot of the hospitals or clinics are using recruitment agencies or societies or agencies like us who have a contact and network of doctors, or they will use people who know doctors. So it's a lot of like word of mouth and finding the right people. But also LinkedIn is very important. So if there is one place online where you should be, if you want to look for a job by yourself in Dubai as a doctor, I would highly recommend LinkedIn. A lot of the better hospitals and very reputable hospitals, the human resources or recruitment managers or specialists are on LinkedIn and will be looking for those doctors. If you are not an expert in LinkedIn, we can help you with this. We can create a profile for you and we can manage it as well. Instagram, I'm sure you will not like so much this recommendation, but unfortunately, Instagram is also an important social media network for doctors to at least have a profile, have a page, especially if you are a doctor that is very front facing in terms of the results that you provide to patients. So if you are a plastic surgeon, it's very important in Dubai to have an Instagram page where you are doing patient education, you are discussing the procedures that you do. Perhaps you can show some before and after photos, of course, as long as it's not confidential and it's in line with the marketing regulations. But generally speaking, marketing in Dubai for doctors is more flexible than in some countries like France, where I know that none of the doctors are allowed to advertise themselves. So in Dubai, it's very important that you are able to connect with your patients as well. If they're looking for you on Google, if they're looking for you on Instagram, for example. So I often get asked as well, should I work as a part-time doctor? Is it possible for me to come and work like 1 week per month, or maybe come for 1 month and then go back to my country for 2 months? It is possible. It depends again on your specialty, and it depends whether you are working for hospitals or for clinics. Generally speaking, the clinics, smaller size clinics, they like to have or they need to have a doctor who is there all the time, 100%. Otherwise, they are trying to build patient base, patient flow, and the doctor comes and then the doctor leaves and doesn't come back for 3 weeks. So it can be a little bit difficult for smaller clinics to work with doctors that come and go between their country and Dubai. But again, for highly specialized surgeons, maybe like plastic surgeons or high in demand specialties, working part time or visiting basis, as we call it, is feasible and realistic. Um, Full time, of course, is always an option and is probably the best option if you want to enjoy the lifestyle of Dubai. So how is the earning? Shall you work on salary or shall you work on percentage revenue share? Well, both models are available to you. Nowadays in Dubai, because remember the healthcare system is private. So because it's private, a lot of hospitals and clinics prefer nowadays to work with doctors with no salary who are willing to work on what we call percent revenue share, which means that, let's say, for every patient that you see and for every procedure that you do, let's say plastic surgery again, if you do a plastic surgery procedure for 10,000 euros and there are 3,000 euros of cost, 7,000 euro will remain for the plastic surgery procedure, and 50% will go to the hospital and 50% will go to the doctor. It could be negotiated 60% or even 70%, but this is all up to negotiation. For doctors like aesthetic doctors or GPs or family medicine doctors, usually they prefer to work on salary, same like maybe some dentists, or it really depends on your specialty. But some clinics tell us we don't like to work with doctor on percent. We prefer to have fixed salary because we know what we are spending, what's the salary cost. And then the doctor will have like small percentage as well for every procedure that they do. So because here clinics and hospitals have a lot of costs to cover, they like also the doctor to help in making sure that he keeps busy with a full book of patients. And they will usually give you a percent for the procedures that you carry out on top of the salary. It could be 2%, it could be 3%, it could be 5%. How much do doctors earn in Dubai? Well, this is a very tricky and confidential question. I prefer to answer that question in private. And of course, it depends on your specialty as well. So it's very broad, but remember that in Dubai, we don't pay taxes. And this is true fact. Of course, in day-to-day life, there's a lot of things that we have to pay, but they are not taxes that are coming from your salary. So whatever salary you negotiate with the hospital or clinic, everything 100% will be paid to you on your account. So sometimes with doctors who are very well established, maybe they have their private clinic in their country and they have 5, 10, 15 years experience, they might think that the salary they will earn here will be less when they look at the number. But of course, I always say it's important to remember that this is without taxes. And if as a doctor you are very active, again, in building your patient base and being very busy, you will be able probably within a quick time, 2 to 3 years, to earn more than you are at home, I am sure. So shall you open a clinic or is it better to work as an employed doctor? So I get this question very often. Generally, we always say that if it's your own business, your own clinic, it's always better financially. Ultimately, you are working for yourself, you're building something for yourself. So if you have your own clinic already back home, you might want to consider to open your clinic here in Dubai. But usually my recommendation is if you are thinking of opening your clinic and you did not work in Dubai before, my recommendation would be, first of all, build your name here and build your network and build your understanding of the market for 1 to 2 years minimum as an employee or as a salaried doctor. It gives you a chance to discover how life here is, how the healthcare and the business system is working in Dubai. Also to think of your preferred geographical area. What do I mean by this? Because Dubai has 7 emirates and Dubai has many different areas. We have downtown, we have Marina, we have Palm, we have Jumeirah, and sometimes it can be very difficult for doctors to decide where to open their clinic or even where to live. So this is very important to think about this because especially if you open your clinic, you don't want to be making the wrong decision with the area of Dubai. This is very, very important. So, and also gives you a chance to understand how does marketing work because as we said, Dubai, is like healthcare, like a business. So you will need time if you want to open your own clinic to be known as a clinic, to build your business and to build your team and to build your patients. Any questions so far from anybody? So living in the UAE, how is it and what can you expect? Well, generally living in the UAE is very enjoyable. And I would say 90% of people who move to Dubai end up falling in love with it. And you might have a plan to move to Dubai maybe for 2 years, 3 years, temporary, but usually we all end up staying for a very long time because of the safety that we have, because of the financial capacities, the sunshine, and the city is always growing. There's always new things to do. And we are very lucky to live with many people from around the world. So It's a very positive mindset and positive energy. It is very safe. It is very tax-free. There are some downsides to living in Dubai, and this is very personal, different downsides for different people. Many people now are talking about the traffic. It's true that Dubai is a very busy and congested city. Lack of nature, this is down to personal preferences and the hot weather, but nowhere is perfect in the world, as we know. I want to talk a little bit about marketing yourself again, just to make it important and to you. And my main message as well this evening is that if you're coming to work to Dubai as a doctor, it will be important that at some point you're confident or interested to market your services, whether it is by creating a website about you, whether it's by being on LinkedIn or having an Instagram page or going to events to meet other doctors, to generate referrals from your colleagues from other specialties. It's important that you have this mindset that I'm active and I want to build my network here. What are the mistakes to avoid if you are moving to Dubai as a doctor? Just from my experience, choosing the wrong clinic or hospital. A lot of doctors will come and will just get an offer from a clinic or hospital, and maybe they didn't have time or chance to do what we call due diligence on the reputation of the clinic. And they end up working for a clinic or hospital, but they are not happy with the management. They're not happy with the style of the clinic. So they're not happy with the number of patients that they are seeing. So it's important to speak to people in Dubai who can give you some feedback about the clinic that you are receiving an offer from or from the hospital, and to really know more about the reputation of this clinic. It's very often that doctors will take a job or contract, but after 6 months or 12 months, usually they are changing because maybe they didn't have enough help or feedback about this. Accepting unusually high salary. Why am I putting this as a mistake? Of course, this sounds like an opportunity to have a high salary, but we are here to guide you on what the salaries for your specialty and experience should be. But if you are receiving a very high salary offer and it looks too good to be true, probably it is too good to be true. And it means that after a little while, perhaps the clinic or the hospital would put pressure on you to say that we are paying high salary, but we're not having return on investment. Of course, unless they're offering a high salary because they know your potential, your capacity, but you will have to work extremely hard or extra hard for that, and you'll have to make sure that you have a full book of patients. Not marketing yourself is also a regular mistake that I'm seeing from doctors in the beginning, and it becomes harder if you've been here for a little while and you've not done active marketing. You don't have visibility. Clinics and hospitals are looking for doctors that have a name in the market. If you are new to Dubai, though, a lot of hospitals and clinics, of course, they understand that, and they might be interested to meet a doctor who's fresh into Dubai and to grow their career and profile together. But you should still never rely 100% on the clinic or hospital marketing your expertise. So how can we help you here at Invictamed? I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Well, we have a 4-step relocation service. First of all, we can help you with the licensing application with the Dubai Health Authority, or you can do it yourself. We can help you with finding a job, guiding you how to look for the job, guiding you with your LinkedIn profile, guiding you how to approach the clinics and hospitals, guiding you with the negotiation of your contract and salary. But also we can help you with moving here in general, and even marketing and branding yourself once you arrive in the market. What's very important is we are a community. So I think when you start an adventure in a new country, it's always good to know people and to feel like you are part of a network. So we've relocated a lot of doctors. We are very active here every day. I organize a lot of events every month for doctors. We do seminars to guide you how to market yourself. So we're a community and we're here to make you feel part of this community. You can follow us on Instagram if you have more questions, but of course you can also raise your hand now and tell me if there is any question that you had that you did not find an answer to this evening. Where are our participants from this evening? I would like to hear from you. Do we have anybody from France? Do we have anybody from Canada? I think from Russia, maybe? Any questions that you would like to ask? You can unmute yourself or you can just drop a message in the chat here. You have a little box on at the bottom. Hi, Dr. Divya. Dr. Divya is from London. Great. Lots of doctors from the UK relocating here. Thank you, Dr. Abbas. Okay, I'm glad to know that the information shared is true. I think this is important is to have access to the real facts and the real information. Nothing is perfect. If somebody is promising you the dream, you probably have to reconsider it. And also it's important to know and expect that you will have to work hard for it in the beginning because you are starting again your profile, your patient base, your career here. So of course it's very difficult to pick it up from where you left it back in your country. So you have to invest maybe 1 year, 2 years until you can pick up the pace. It's very important to have that expectation. Thank you, Dr. Paye from Reunion Island. Very nice. Thank you. Julia, how long does it take usually to find a job and the licensing process? Licensing process, you can expect 3 months, Dr. Julia, from start to finish. And how long to find a job? It depends how you are looking for the job. And it depends your specialty as well. So I'm happy to connect with you. I don't know what is your specialty, if you have some experience back home or less experience, all these factors will be important and how you are looking for the job. Dr. Lehman, very interesting. Thank you for now. Still a bit early for you. You have 2 more years to complete at the hospital, but I'm sure that you'll have more questions in the future. One question for now. Would 2 years of experience as a plastic surgery, sorry, I lost as a plastic surgery fellow in French hospital be considered sufficient? I believe that those 2 years of experience, Dr. Lehman, will be sufficient as a plastic surgeon. But we will need to see your specialty degree, please, and to make sure that it's one of the ones recognized to be exempt from further experience. So we can connect tomorrow. You can send me a copy of your degrees and we can do a free assessment for you. Dr. Divya is asking, can we help with sourcing good clinics or to confirm a job? Yes, of course. This is a very important part of the journey because just getting the license alone is not worth anything. We have a very unique process because I've been here for 11 years. So I know most of the clinics. And Dr. Divya, I think you're the aesthetic doctor, right? So if you're especially in aesthetics, I have the contact with all the aesthetic clinics in Dubai. So we are able to connect with the clinics on your behalf and to make sure that they are looking at your profile and we can try to secure interviews for you. So yes, we are working in that way, especially with aesthetic doctors. And we can help you with LinkedIn to have some visibility because a lot of aesthetic clinics are looking for the doctors there as well. Yes. Aesthetic French doctor, 3 years of experience. What is your question exactly, Dr. Paye? Is that about finding the job or is that about getting the license? So if you have 3 years of experience as a French aesthetic doctor, probably you will not need to take an exam and you will be definitely eligible for the license. So I will talk to you a little bit more about the aesthetic doctor license. I get a lot of questions about this. Aesthetic medicine is not a recognized official specialty anywhere in the world, as you know. So doctors are allowed to do aesthetic medicine, but they are not licensed as aesthetic doctors. So you need to be licensed as general practitioner, family medicine doctor, médecin de famille, or of course, chirurgien plastique, dermatologist, plastic surgeon. So some of these specialties usually are the one performing aesthetic medicine. So we will apply for you for your license as a médecin de famille, family doctor or GP. And then you will be allowed to practice aesthetic medicine that way. Is it possible to work privately in an office-based practice in Dubai and simply be a partner with a clinic that provides operating group slots? Yes. So I will explain briefly. So the way it works is that you can rent a room in a clinic. This is one option, but it's not ideal. It's not my favorite one. Or you can have agreement with the clinic that if they bring you patient in the clinic, they will take a percentage and you will take another percentage. If you bring your own patients, you will take a higher percentage, but you will give the clinic, for example, 30% because you are using the space of the clinic, maybe the nurse from the clinic and the receptionist and consumables. So you share some of the cost with the clinic for using the space, but you are working independently by yourself. For the operating room as plastic surgeon in Dubai, this is good and important question and topic because in Dubai, if you are not working in a hospital as a surgeon, but you're working in a clinic independently and privately, it's very rare that the clinics will have operating rooms. So most of the plastic surgeons who work independently in a clinic, they have a separate agreement with the hospital, or the clinic already has the agreement with the hospital, and you are able to just go to the hospital whenever you have a booked and confirmed surgery, and you will pay the fees to the hospital for using the operating room and the anesthetist. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions from anybody else this evening? So I'm sure you have specific questions perhaps that you'd like to discuss privately. My pleasure. Thank you, doctor. So what we can do is we do free assessment of your CVs and qualifications. First of all, if you would like to send me that via email tomorrow, we can do complimentary assessment. We can also do a personalized consultation online with you in order to answer your specific questions and create like a mini roadmap for you to make sure that you have the right information to make the right decision for your project. This webinar has been recorded, so if you would like to get a recording of it so you can have the slides, I can send it to you as well. And if you come to Dubai, then please let me know. We can meet for coffee. I would love to meet you. Perfect, Dr. Divya. Thank you so much. And I will send the recording to all of you that have attended this evening. Have a beautiful evening. And thank you for taking the time to join this. It was my pleasure as well. Thank you, everybody. Good night.